And it looks like that we are live again. Hi, welcome everybody to another live session, another live workshop on how to stop anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. My name is Sonja Kirschner. I'm also known under the name of Mindset Medium, a handle of Mindset Medium given to me really by others, as I'm all about shifting our mindset in a state which empowers us rather than disempowered us. I'm also passionate about the topic of anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, and hence I'm doing these workshops. You see, I used to suffer of anxiety, panic attacks, and depression myself many years ago in my late teens and early 20s for several years. And it took me really several years to figure out what it was that was quite literally holding me back from being able to free myself. I'm now emotionally free and have been for many years. And I've been since then working with people just like you, if you're suffering from anxiety, panic attacks, or depression, or if you have the tendency of being too hard on yourself as well. I've been working with people just like you to free themselves. My past, really, this suffering has really ignited a fire in me of wanting to see people thrive, of wanting to see people liberate, free themselves from anything which is holding them back, to truly embrace and become the best version of themselves. Years down the line, I've qualified as a coach, NLP practitioner, mindset expert, mindfulness practitioner, just to be able to work with people and to be equipped in this way to help people in the best possible way. Today, I'm a qualified life coach. In fact, I'm the top 3 finalists of the International Coaching Awards for 2019. I also run a coaching practice called A Power Free Coaching, Training, and Mind Freedom. I'm just telling you all this to say that you are, when you speak to me and work with me, you can rely on, credibility. The coaching industry is an unregulated industry. Many people out there calling themselves coaches, and they are not really coaching, which is fine if it works for you. But a coach is really, in an ideal world, somebody who is trained to help you to unlock your true potential in the truest sense. It also means that somebody who is trained just like me can help you to free yourself. Now, of course, the training alone doesn't help. You have to have a certain talent, a certain amount of experience, which I certainly do have. Feel free to go and check my testimonials out. But I'm here today because I've decided to run these weekly Q&A style workshops on anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, because I can see myself that being a member of the various groups on the social media on anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, that there is a lot going on in terms of people sharing their own suffering and people responding compassionately from the perspective, look, I know how you feel, everything will be fine. But the managers of these groups or the hosts of these groups, I don't see them being proactive in that they provide a safe space where they can actually coach people live, where they show them that, okay, I understand what you're saying because I've been there. I understand how you feel, but let's get you out of the place. Let's give you a strategy that frees you emotionally. Let's get this together. And this is what has helped me and many other people. And I know that you can do the same. So I've decided to hold these weekly workshops to provide this weekly space for live interaction with me, where you can ask me anything relating to anxiety, panic attacks, or depression, but equally where I'm sharing 3 key steps that can free you from emotional suffering fast, whether it's anxiety, whether it's panic attacks, whether it's depression, those 3 being the most debilitating of the emotions, perhaps. But also, you may be somebody who has got the tendency to be too hard on yourself, the tendency of being too negative, so to speak, a glass half empty person rather than a glass half full person, which has an impact on ultimately on how you feel and on your performance, what you get and what you achieve in your life, and what kind of results you get as a result of what action you take. So, because what I have found is that these 3 steps, yes, they have absolutely proven to free people from any kind of emotional suffering, but they can be equally applied to people who don't suffer in that way, but perhaps suffer in other ways, like stress and constant worry and pressure. And let's face it, aren't we all suffering from these emotions in this day and age? To a certain degree. And some of us have developed strategies to cope with it better than others, but I'm certainly sharing all the strategies, tools, and techniques here to offer you guidance. So if you have joined in, welcome. Let me know in the comments where you have joined in from, what your name is, and how you are doing. And if you have any questions, pop them into the comment box and I will be answering them one question at a time. We have got a full hour together, so we can address exactly what it is that is holding you back. But specifically, it's really important to me that you walk away from today's session and every other workshop that we'll be running feeling empowered. Exactly, look, I've got these strategies and I'm going to implement them. And once you start implementing them, you will start seeing progress and you will start feeling better. And the more you do, the more empowered you will feel of not wanting to go back to the place where you perhaps may be today, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, or experiencing panic attacks. Sounds good. So Helen is saying that she comes from Leicester, UK. Helen, welcome. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comment box below. But for now, I'm going to share really my story so that I can prove to you that I know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to only give you a fraction. If you want to hear my entire story, in fact, I've recorded a video where I talk about my story, and you can check it all out on the stopanxietyblueprint.com. You can hear my story, and you can also check out my blueprint, which I've written, based on which I've decided to run these workshops. You see, because this blueprint has helped so many people, and I really want to make the material accessible in the form of live Q&As, where people get to ask me questions. So as I mentioned, I used to suffer in my late teens and early 20s for several years. And it was a difficult, challenging time. You see, I didn't understand that there was more to the human experience, perhaps to that degree as I do today, than the human body. And I remember, taking a shower one evening and getting ready for bed, thinking to myself, having this internal dialogue, if I only wish I could look after myself in this way, in the same way I'm looking after my physical body, on an emotional, spiritual level. I didn't quite know what the words were I was looking for. I think I may have used the word soul. So I was having this internal dialogue saying, oh my God, I wish I could look after my soul in the same way I'm looking after my physical body as I'm taking this shower. And I didn't understand that was possible. And in fact, that it was crucial to a healthy human experience, because let's face it, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And if we completely disregard the spiritual side of us, whatever it is you may call it soul, you may call it the higher power or universe, wherever it is you are coming from in terms of your viewpoint, then if we don't look after ourselves, it is inevitable that we start suffering. You see, and I recognize around the time that I've been always too hard on myself, always demanded a lot from myself, having had perfectionistic tendencies at school, always wanting and needing to excel. Plus, there was a lot of distress going on in my immediate family environment between my parents, who didn't seem to get on really well. So I found myself stuck in a situation where I felt helpless, right? Helpless of me being so demanding of myself, being so harsh on myself in the way I talked to myself and in what I demanded from myself, but also helpless in terms of the situation with my parents. And I started feeling this helplessness, I guess, in the form of anxiety and panic attacks. Because let's face it, when we experience panic attacks, it's a form of helplessness, right? We don't know, are we going to survive? We don't know, is it going to, when is the next panic attack going to hit us again? When we are depressed, we feel complete victims of a situation which feels helpless, right? So I didn't know what was going on, and I felt all these physical symptoms. I had a lot of ache around my heart, and I felt it really difficult to breathe. I really had to focus on breathing, and I remember making myself going on walks and breathing deeply, but it was more of an effort than a nice experience. Because of experiencing all this emotional distress and pain, I started developing physical symptoms as well. So not only my heart, it felt awkward, it felt funny. I always experienced some sort of pressure around my heart, but I started feeling nauseous and have pain in my stomach. So I went to see several doctors, obviously, to make sure that I'm fine. And most of the tests, ultimately all of the tests, I won't give you too much detail. Check out my story and the stopanxietyblueprint.com. But essentially, everything came back clear. So I knew I was physically fit. So that's step number one, by the way. If you are experiencing any physical symptoms, make sure you go and make sure that you are examined and that all the tests come back clear, because you want to make sure that your physical body is fine, whilst you are at the same time focusing on your emotional well-being. So for me, I knew that I was physically fit, and that it had indeed to do with that other part of myself, right? So ultimately, I ended up with a psychiatrist who prescribed me antidepressants, but that antidepressants experience didn't really work for me. It was really difficult for me to get used to them, and equally difficult for me to come off them. And whilst I was taking them, I still didn't feel 100%, fit or engaged in life. So don't we all know people who are taking antidepressants, yet they're still depressed? And that is because although the antidepressants may shift the biochemistry in your body, they're not really shifting your experience. They're not really shifting your mindset. And they're not really shifting how you look at the world. And it's those things that determine how you feel on an ongoing and constant basis, right? So it was not until I started looking at things from a different perspective, until I started researching things, reading books, self-help material, practicing meditation, practicing, the things that I was reading. And as I was testing and trying what worked for me, I drilled it all down to 3 main steps, which ultimately made the difference for me. And those three steps I'm going to share with you today. And I know for myself, because I've worked with many other people who have applied them, that they work. They work. And I do share these 3 steps in every session, because there's new people coming every time I speak. But I really want to make all the time to focus on your specific questions you may have. So if you have any questions relating to your emotional freedom and relating to anxiety, depression, panic attacks, how to free yourself from these things, or how to embrace the true power, which is your potential, in order to live the life that you want and deserve, just pop it in the comment box, because I will be prioritizing your questions. I really want to make sure that I give you massive value for you spending the time here today. I appreciate that you could have been doing something else, and so could I. We all could have been somewhere else doing different things, but we are here for a reason. I'm here because nothing lights me up more than seeing you freeing yourselves from emotional suffering, especially because I know how it feels to be in this place. And you are perhaps here because you have decided for yourself that enough is enough, and that you recognize that you need to change things, because unless you change things, things don't change. So good on you. Well done for showing up for yourself. Now, make sure you ask your questions in the comment box, and I will coach you through everything, so that you can, leave this session feeling empowered. So I will be looking out on the comment box. But for now, I'm sharing the free steps. And that makes me think, actually, before I share the 3 steps, also want to mention that the mindset has changed it all for me. But I was at the time very young, so I was physically well. I didn't feel, or nobody really told me that there are supplements or your food, or your environment, in that how the food you take in and the supplements have an impact on your emotional well-being as well. And I have discovered that there is a guy, he's an American guy called Anthony William. He's also known under the handle the medical medium. So I'm the mindset medium, he's the medical medium. And Anthony William has healed millions of people around the world. He's the founder, or the originator of the movement behind the celery juice movement, which has healed millions of people from all sorts of different ailments and illnesses over the course of the past decades. He's been doing this for 40 years now, and he talks also about anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, and he has written a book on this. Well, the interesting thing about Anthony William is, and not everybody believes in this, I appreciate it, but Anthony William claims that he has been communicating with the spirit of compassion since the age of 4, and that he has been essentially downloading information from spirit and compassion, through which he has been able to help so many people where the regular medicine has failed him. Essentially, he has been doing this for more than 4 decades now, since age 4. Obviously very controversial, but it's, results speak for themselves. So whether you believe or not, give Anthony William a try. He has written a book on you can see medical medium. It says cleanse to heal. This may be showing up backwards, forwards here, but his book is really on healing plans for suffering of anxiety, depression, acne, eczema, Lyme disease, etc. I'm not affiliated to Anthony William in any shade or form. He probably doesn't even know that I exist and that I'm showing you this book. But this book has healed millions of people from different conditions, including anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. He's essentially suggesting to change your diet, to start taking in certain supplements to help you with how you feel. He also says that your brain, which is essentially an electrical computer program based on electrical impulses, that's what I mean, a computer program which functions and governs our body with electrical impulses. He's saying that the heavy metals we are taking in, and everybody takes in heavy metals. Have you ever wondered what happens to your knife when it gets blunt? When it gets blunt, we essentially take in the heavy metal with our food, right? And there's heavy metal coming into our system in different ways as well. And a lot of this heavy metal gets stuck in our brain, which then causes, with the electrical impulses, problems. It can cause problems. So he's essentially saying that, look, guys, if you suffer from anxiety, panic attacks, depression, you can heal yourself. You really need to clean this heavy metal out of your system, especially your brain, if it's causing you problems. And he's got a recipe in this book called the Heavy Metal Detox Smoothie. Check it out yourself, but I can tell you what the ingredients are. But for the quantities, check out the book. Go to the library. It's accessible in the library. You don't even have to buy this. This information is available free. But this Heavy Metal Detox Smoothie consists of wild blueberries. The wild blueberries, they're different from regular blueberries. But you can use wild frozen blueberries, cilantro or coriander, Atlantic dal, spirulina, barley glass powder. He also adds in some freshly squeezed orange juice and bananas. But Anthony William, as I say, this smoothie alone has helped many people suffering with anxiety, panic attacks, and depression to get better, just because of the essentially repairing the brain. They're cleansing the brain from the heavy metals in the system, which is causing problems. Other foods which are good for sufferers are steamed potatoes, bananas, sweet potatoes, because they are rich in glucose for the transfer of vitamins and nutrients in our system. Spinach, and especially the little stalks, the stems in the spinach. Papayas, for instance. He's also saying that lemon balm as a supplement, or vitamin B12 or vitamin C, but micro C, zinc, are critical for our emotional well-being as well. So I'm all about the mindset, but I know that since I'm the mindset medium, but Anthony William is all about the food and supplements, the medical medium. I personally believe that when you join the two, hand in hand, they can do wonders for you, and they can definitely help you to shift yourself and free yourself completely. So, Helen, I've received your comment. You're saying this is a hard one for me to admit, but I think I've gone beyond anxiety and actually a bit to the point of PTSD due to an old incident that happened at my old workplace. My old supervisor bullied me very severely. She would make fun of my appearance, call me stupid, and physically shove me when I would walk by. Wow. I remember I asked for help on that task, and she said just to do it. I did it, and she printed out my work and wrote wrong all over it for the team to see it. It was a small business, so nothing. Okay. So this is the comment people can see. So Helen, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate this. And you're right, Helen. This, as I shared with you, although most people don't realize this or consciously don't take time to think about it, where does our anxiety, our panic attacks and depression come from? But they have to do with what has happened to us, right? Our body, through anxiety, panic attacks, or depression, or any other negative emotions which are showing up on a consistent basis, is communicating to us in the way we feel. And if we have these emotions on an ongoing basis, they are essentially action signals. These are signals telling us, hey, listen, something has happened. You need to deal with something, right? There are action signals. We need to take action. It's our body telling us, signaling us, essentially, take action. You need to resolve something. It may be emotional trauma, like it happened to you. Helen, this is clearly something which you haven't quite digested yet. Obviously, it has impacted you severely, as you say. The old supervisor bullied you very severely. If I were to dig a little deeper, and probably you can answer that in the comment box, this whole situation of being a bully, especially, being severely bullied, she would make fun of your appearance. Again, maybe you can give me a little bit more detail, but I can imagine that this situation made you feel helpless. It's difficult to be in this situation, right? We don't know what to do and how to behave. And especially if somebody who is who is more senior from us within an organization, we tend to respect them, and we tend to do the best we can to avoid any kind of conflict. But if it keeps coming, we just feel that our confidence, our resilience, our emotional sturdiness, is completely knocked. And from that perspective, it's really difficult to take action which has the potential to make us feel better, and it was just the potential to change the situation. So I completely understand where you are coming from, Helen. But this situation, I can imagine that you felt completely helpless, right? And it takes a lot of courage for people who are bullied by people to stand up for themselves, and it takes a lot of emotional strength to change anything. And especially if you are prone to anxiety, panic attacks, or depression, that can be extra hard, and it can push us even further down that hole. You're saying that I overheard you saying to the colleague that my chest was too big for the office. I was always covered up. Look, this woman had clearly her own issues, okay? We don't know. I certainly don't know who she is. You probably wouldn't know what her issues exactly were. But the truth is that you would have triggered something in her. And it may have been your sensitivity, it may have been your intelligence, it may have been the way you look. You may have reminded her of somebody. She may have have been in a weird kind of way jealous of something you have, whether it's physical or emotional. But you have triggered something in her which didn't allow her to shine at her best, which essentially triggered something. And it's completely immature, irresponsible behavior she has shown towards your part, especially because she knew what she was doing, because bullies know when they do it. So I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying, her behavior was right. I'm saying that you can get over this. And I'm saying that you absolutely can give this a different meaning and take your power back. Because this brings me to my phrase steps. This is something which has happened in the past, and it's still affecting you to this day, it seems, right? Well, you need to completely divorce the old story and marry what's true for you. And what's true for you is that you have unlimited potential, and that you are a beautiful, strong person who deserves everything you can think of and imagine of in your life, regardless of what other people say, regardless of how other people behave to you, regardless of how other people treat you. Your own beauty and strength comes from within you. And you can feed this beauty and strength by leveraging on the power of your mindset. Yes, you are saying, Helen, for the people who are not on LinkedIn and watching this somewhere else, essentially Helen is saying, never thought of it like that. Wow, thank you, especially the triggering in others. Yes, definitely. People who behave in a bullying kind of way towards ourselves, we are triggering something in them which is causing them to behave in that way towards us. Something they haven't resolved themselves, and they still need to resolve. And the best way for them is to kind of behave in that way. But it's not an excuse. It's not the best way. It certainly shows their emotional immaturity. It shows that there's still a lot of work to do on themselves. They don't necessarily feel good when they do it, although they may be, laughing and feel all confident. They know, they trust me, they know that it's not right to be doing it, but they feel as they even didn't have another, as if they didn't have another choice. That's not true. We all have another choice. We always have another choice, and that distinguishes us from animals, right? Because between what we experience and how we react to what we experience, there is a gap. And it's only us humans who can leverage on the gap. We can decide in the gap how we are going to respond. Animals don't have this capability, but we do. And in the case of bullies, they are not leveraging that gap in their advantage, and certainly also not in the advantage of the people they are focusing on. But they know that they need to resolve something, and you are triggering what is unresolved for them. And that's why they are behaving in that way. Hopefully this woman, hopefully she has addressed whatever it was that was causing her this pain that she couldn't deal with in any other way than starting to hurt other people. Because if she hasn't addressed it, she's not only suffering still, but she's also kind of spreading her negativity and affecting other people around her as well. That's why it's so important, and I'm a really big cheerleader of people who stand up for bullies, who stand up for themselves and to address it. Because sometimes it's really take a really strong personality and shock them, which completely kind of shifts their wiring, and that closes them completely off. But sometimes it requires a really strong person to give them that kind of emotional shock. Helen, again, you are saying for everybody to see, share, and comment here. Agreed, we always have a choice. It did make me look into learning and development and made me passionate about finding training development opportunities for others. Great. So your experience you have done something great here, because what you are describing, and exactly that, I'm sharing a other comment as well. In a strange way, I learned from that. That's exactly that. You see, life is always happening. It's always happening. Always, always, always happening. Even in the most difficult, challenging, painful times, life is always happening for us, not to us. Life is always happening for us. There is always a reason for why we are going through a challenge. There is always a reason why we are experiencing a difficulty. There is always a reason why we are experiencing hardship, because this situation is there for us to grow, to learn, to expand. Because if we couldn't grow, we wouldn't be able to experience life. And whoever you believe in, the higher power, God, universe, you can look at it from this way. God is either punishing me, or God is giving me this tremendous challenge for growth, which when I overcome, I will become this strong, independent, resilient woman, going and helping people, and to unlock their true potential and show them a way which frees them, and making it my mission to stand up for bullies from that way onwards, or wanting to help people who have been bullied in the past. Whatever it is that you are going through, and whatever it is that you are suffering through right now, Helen, and everybody else on the call, life is always happening for us, not to us. It's all about exactly what Helen said, about learning from that experience. What can I learn to grow? What can I learn to become the person I need to be in order to embrace the life that I want? And it's all about the mindset, the way you look at things. It's all about the mindset and the way you look at things, because what's wrong is always available. It's always available and always will be. In fact, our brain is trained to look at things that are wrong. Our brain is trained to look at things that are dangerous. We've got a millions-year-old brain, which is essentially there to protect us from danger. The primary function of our brain, when we think about it, is to keep us safe from danger. We are no longer chased by the tigers and lions, like we used to be, the human species. Our brain's primary function was to always vigilantly looking out for those beasts and for the physical danger. And today, that danger doesn't come in form of tigers and lions. It comes in form of different things. It comes in form of worry, job insecurity, financial insecurity, job loss, stress, worry, bullies. So it's always looking out for danger, our brain. And it's always looking out for danger so that it can solve it. But it's a habitual process. And our brain will never make us happy. It will never make us happy. Our brain's primary function keep us safe. It's our job, our own job, to take the driver's seat of that potential between our ears, that incredible potential, and to say, hey, I'm going to drive this seed of potential, and I'm going to look for things that are working out for us, because what's wrong is always available. And I recognize this because I've lived my entire life looking for what's wrong and trying to find solutions, and I feel so burned out and tired as a result. But I also know in my heart, and our heart has its own intelligence. In fact, our heart was created before our brain was in the womb. So I know in my heart that that's what's right is equally always available. And I'm going to train myself to now look for what's right. Because that other way, looking at what's wrong and trying to figure a solution, I'm tired, I'm tired and I'm burned out. And there is another way. I've learned to understand that there is another way. I'm taking the charge of the steering wheel of my potential. I'm going to train myself. I'm going to develop habits to train myself to look at what's right. Because from this perspective, everything is possible. When I look at what's right, and let's face it, there's so many different things that are working out for each and every one of us. When I focus on these things, that shift in focus and perception makes me feel better, rather than when I focus on what's not working out for us. And when I feel better, I feel more empowered to stand up for myself when somebody is saying something they shouldn't be saying, especially in front of other people. I feel more empowered to take the right inspired action, which is effortless. I feel more empowered to do the things which feel right, which give me the result that I've been looking for. I feel more empowered to experience things, to try things out, even though I know that they perhaps won't be the ultimate solution, but I will feel progress. I will feel that I'm moving forward, and this progress will make me happy. So there is always a different way how you can look at things, but we all have been trained to look at what's wrong by being raised by our parents, our caretakers, our families. They've all done the best they could, but they have all done what their parents taught them, and their parents taught them, and their parents taught them. And it's essentially about, not utilizing your mindset to your highest advantage. If you want to change something, take responsibility now for your own life and start changing things and start passing it on to children and younger generations or the people you work with, to have the most meaningful impact, not only for yourself, but also for others. Because once you start applying it for yourself and start sharing it in the world, you amplify the effect you not only have in form of impact on the others, but also for yourself. Helen, again on LinkedIn, just sharing the comment for everybody, saying, still in awe what triggered in others' comment. That's actually really helped me digest what happened a bit, so thank you very much. So you're saying still in awe over that triggered in other comments. Not sure what you mean with that, but maybe you want to, Helen, just elaborate a little bit on this, that actually helped you digest what happened a bit, what triggered in other comment. If you mean that something triggered her, that she had to make the comment, if that's what you mean, absolutely. If people behave in in nasty ways like bullies do, it's definitely something that they feel that they're triggered by. And you know this woman better than I do, so probably it starts clicking into place for you what might have triggered and why. Okay, I get it, yeah. So when you said you triggered her, yeah, definitely. You triggered her in some way, but it doesn't mean that it was your fault, right? It's her not taking charge of utilizing the space between the trigger and her response and just reacting. And her natural wiring made her react in a disempowering way, which not only disempowered you, but also herself, because every bully, when they do it, they know it's not right, and they know in the heart of hearts that it's not right, which makes them feel a certain way, a disempowering way. So the 3 steps I want to share with you today are, and for those of you who have joined before, you would have heard me talking about them before, but essentially these 3 steps have the power to shift you out of negativity, shift you out of feeling low, depressed, anxious, feeling a panic attack, shift you out of feeling like Helen, like a victim of being bullied. They have the power to shift you out of these negative states in minutes. The more you practice them, the easier it will be for you. Step number 1, or pattern number 1, it's really patterns, because we have developed certain patterns how we use these 3 steps. But pattern number 1 is our physiology. What do we do with our body? You see, depressed people who are anxious, people who are experiencing a panic attack, these people, it's pretty obvious. We know how they look like. How do we know? Because probably we've been there ourselves. But essentially somebody who is emotionally suffering, they look like as if they were physically drawn towards, gravitating towards the ground, right? The shoulders hanging down, looking down, really shallow breathing. Their tone of voice is really low, and they speak quietly. And they have a really slow pace around them, not much life in them, right? Moving really slowly and breathing really heavily. So physiology is the step number 1. If you rapidly and drastically change your physiology in that moment, when you feel that way, when you feel disempowered because somebody said something to her, when you feel depressed because you have felt that way for such a long time, and if nothing in life seems to be giving you pleasure, or if you feel that panic attack is coming, or if you feel anxious, you have, like I used to, a habit around how you use your body, and that habit isn't disempowering you. It's about snapping you, so to speak, out with your body out of that state. And that you can do by radically shifting your physiology, by making a move which gives you energy, by, even though you don't feel like it, by raising your arms and looking up into the sky and breathing really deeply, or starting to sing a song, your favorite song, from the top of your voice, or starting to dance around, even though it may not make any sense to you because you don't feel like that, or going out for a run and running like crazy. Whatever it is, but changing your physiology fast is the key step to feel better, instantaneously better, to snap yourself out, essentially, out of the negative state, which can feel so debilitating. Any of these 3 steps, if you change them on their own, have the potential to massively improve how you feel. And if you change them all 3 at the same time, you can become unstoppable, quite literally, and not only as a sufferer of anxiety, panic attacks, or depression, but as somebody who is just, going on with the regular life, feeling perhaps sometimes unfulfilled, unhappy, but not giving it too much attention. You can quite literally change your life with these 3 steps. So step number 1, trigger number 1, focus, and you'll believe what you focus on determines how you feel. What you focus on determines what you believe about yourself, what you believe about others, what you believe about the world, whether it's a good place or a bad place, whether people are there to help you or they are there to take advantage of you. What you focus on in the way you see yourself. Do you see yourself as somebody who is constantly growing, appreciating every challenge that is coming, acknowledging and embracing failures, because through failures we grow and learn, and it's only through our failures, growth and learning that we can truly become a more empowered version of ourselves and have the impact that we all want to ultimately make and leave the legacy behind. So what you focus on and what you believe are crucial. But you see, most people, especially those who are depressed, anxious, or experience panic attacks, most of us, we focus in the opposite way of the way that has the potential to serve us. We focus on the things that are not working out for us. We focus on our depression. We focus on the anxiety way too much. We focus on the panic attacks, the worry about when they are going to come again, way too much. We focus on being a victim. We focus on the things that are not working out for us. We focus too much on what other people are saying to us. And we really start believing that we are a victim of the situation, that nothing can change us, that we are perhaps dependent or will be dependent on antidepressants for the rest of our lives, or that we start to believe that we are not worthy of anything other than feeling okay. We start to believe that there is no other way for us. But all that is nonsense, is complete bullshit, excuse my language. We can absolutely change what we focus on, and we can absolutely change what we believe about ourselves and other people. We can absolutely change. It doesn't mean that just because you were raised surrounded by people who believed in scarcity rather than abundance, it doesn't mean that your life has to be full of scarcity. It doesn't mean that you have to live your life always, feeling poor, or always feeling that you are missing out, or always not having enough. It doesn't mean that you can absolutely change things. It doesn't mean that when you were raised with, I had a client the other day. She came to me and she said to me, I'm not a confident communicator. I'm at a stage of my life and my career. Look, in my late 50s, I made it very far. I'm a senior director now for the NHS. But I feel every time I enter this boardroom surrounded by men, I just don't feel that I'm a good communicator. I've been to every class, taken every course. I still don't believe that I'm a good communicator, and I don't feel equal and worthy to sit with all these more senior men around the table. Turns out that she grew up with 5 older brothers who never allowed her to get a word in edgeways, and this was unfortunately supported by the parents as well. So she grew up feeling and thinking about herself that her voice didn't matter, that she wasn't equal to the boys who were more listened to, who seemed to have a voice. And although she made it quite successfully for her career, it's been a struggle. She hasn't believed that she's worthy, that her voice is equally powerful as the voice of her brothers and any senior work colleagues. And had she addressed this much sooner in life, her entire career would have looked completely differently. So what I'm saying is, if you focus in a way which is disempowering you, if you believe about yourself, other people, and the world, things that are making you feel anything other than happy, joyful, appreciative, excited, optimistic, content, hopeful, then you can absolutely change it. If your focus and your beliefs are making you feel bad, essentially bad being a huge word for all the negative emotions we can experience, but some of them being some of the lowest: depression, depressed, anxious, overwhelmed, helpless, angry, disencouraged, worried. If your beliefs and your focus are making you feel these things, then it's time to change. It's time to start believing and focusing in the right way. Because remember, there's always things that are working out for us. We just need to train our focus and our belief. To focus in that way. I hope this makes sense. And then the third step, or the third pattern, is the words that we use, the language we use, and the meaning we give to the words we use for ourselves. So the internal dialogue we have, or the meaning we give to the words, spoken words by others to us, right? Especially when we are hard on ourselves, and especially when we suffer from anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, we are prone to be negative in our self-talk to us. We are prone to use the word, even though it may be mentally, but it really doesn't matter whether you speak it out loud or not. If you feel like a victim and use the word victim a lot, you focus in a disempowering way, right? If you start developing beliefs which you are essentially reinforcing through your thoughts and your words, that you are not worthy, or that you will never recover, or that you don't know what to do and nothing is going to change, it's going to impact you. If you allow other people's language to impact you negatively by the meaning you assigned to what they're saying, it's also not helping you. Somebody may a passing comment to say, "Oh no, you're still depressed," thinking, probably they're thinking, probably they're not even thinking much by saying it. They just see you and just make a passing comment. But you, as a sufferer of a depression, you may take it really seriously. You may really, it can really push you down. It can really depress you even further. But if you give it the right meaning, right? First of all, you don't know where that person is coming from. You don't know what kind of day they had. You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know all the details about that person. Something may have been triggered in that person, right? Something that person may have wanted to make conversation, and it's possible that you have kind of just disregarded it because of going into this deep internal dialogue of analysis, right? But if you change the meaning you give the things, and always look for things that are working out for you, you are empowering yourself, right? Because you can become curious and ask that person, which may surprise you and that person as well. What do you mean I'm still depressed? I'm not depressed. Am I still depressed? Yeah, maybe I'm depressed, but if you start joking around, you completely take the entire power of the depression topic away, right? And they may be surprised themselves that you have given them the reaction, and you may surprise yourself, which can put you in a much better mood. So I guess the key here is really to stop taking yourself so bloody seriously and start having a little bit more fun, also with the language you use, and the words you use for yourself and with other people. Come on, say something funny which they wouldn't expect. You may surprise yourself. You may start laughing yourself. So they're really the 3 key steps. I'm elaborating on these 3 steps a little bit more, and I have done in the previous session. So if you want to know more, go back to the previous live streams on the Facebook page Stop Anxiety Now. And whilst you're there, make sure to like the page, because you will be also notified about other events. But they are the 3 steps. So we've got number 1, physiology, the way you use your body. Yeah, physiology, the way you use your body. Then we've got number 2, focus and your beliefs. And number 3, the language you use and the meaning you give to things. They are the 3 steps. And look, I did mention that I wrote a 3-step blueprint to stop anxiety and panic attacks, which is based on these 3 steps. But essentially, it's a powerful program which I've developed based on my own experience and working with other people. Where I also share my entire story, which is a program which, when you follow, you have essentially complete guidance and a layout and a roadmap, so to speak, which guarantees your success. I know it's difficult to even imagine it, especially when you are not familiar with the topic, that we can change our beliefs. Where do you even start, and how do you even do it, and how do you make sure that you don't give up on yourself, But the truth is that you absolutely can, and I'm showing you how in this 3-step blueprint to stop anxiety and panic attacks. So I've included a link to that blueprint in the comments. I think it shows up. In case it doesn't, I put the link here as well, stopanxietyblueprint.com. Go and check it out, and yeah, and let me know what you think. Also, what I wanted to say is, feel free, and I'm encouraging you to share this message with people in your network. There are so many people out there who are suffering emotionally. There's been a study recently conducted in the UK that in England alone, 6 people out of 10 suffer from either anxiety, panic attacks, or some form of depression, mild or severe depression. And most of these people don't share it with anybody, so they suffer in silence. So if you share this workshop, these 3 steps with your network, you never know who might be looking for the answers right now. Right? This is what I'm saying. And it's all about, especially in this difficult year, there are more people suffering than ever. If you have any, I'm taking some final comments. If you still have some final comments, some final questions, pop them in the comment box. And I make sure that I answer them. But if not, I wanted to thank you for showing up for yourself in this way. There is, as I say, there are so many people out there who are suffering, but don't recognize the fact that they are responsible themselves for changing things. But you being here watching this, whether on the live video or a recording, you have taken action and demonstrated that you are up for change and that you are committed to change. So now you have started the ball rolling, so to speak. You've gained a little bit of momentum. I've given you an action plan through those 3 steps in terms of what you can do to empower yourself. If you want to go deeper, just to make sure that you lock in that emotional freedom for yourself, because you can follow an action plan, a blueprint that has worked, a proven blueprint that has worked for myself and so many, then go to stopanxietyblueprint.com. It's all available for you. But remember, nothing is going to change unless you change things. And I can tell you one thing: once you are emotionally free, once you free yourself from taking antidepressants, once you can rely on your own capability of being in control no matter what, of being able to shift yourself of any kind of emotional suffering in any moment, in any given moment, then you are truly emotionally free. And you will never, ever want to go back to the place where you may be right now. But I'm here to remind you of the fact that you are not a victim, okay? You are not doomed to be suffering forever. It's up to you to start changing things. The power is quite literally in your hands and in your mind. I've shown you through the 3 steps how you can do it. So if you don't do anything other than going away and starting to change your physiology rapidly, starting to focus in the right way, starting to believing the right things about yourself, starting to be mindful of the language you use and the meanings you assign to things, and always believe that life is happening for you and not to you, then you are already miles ahead of where you are today. You will be. You're already miles ahead of where people are who don't know about this kind of information. But this is the only information that can truly set us free if we choose to apply it. So again, the power is in your hands. You've got the knowledge now. I'm giving it to you, and I hope you will do something good with it. But don't settle for less than who you know in your hearts of hearts you can be. And now I know for yourself that you've got a great potential to heal yourself, a great potential to create a kind of life you truly want and deserve on your terms. Go and get it. Start creating one step, one day at a time. Enjoy the journey and always look for the things that are always working out for you. And I promise you, things will start shifting sooner than you may believe right now is possible for yourself. And whatever you do, keep in touch, keep me posted on the progress. I would love to hear about your shift. I would love to hear about your journey of how you are taking back your power. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you for your time. And I do hope that you will share this message with your network. And perhaps I see you next week or the week after on yet another live stream. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Bye for now.